Man or bear? Blue pill or the red pill? Which one would you rather pick? You're stuck in the forest. You're coming across what appears to be a creepy man. Who knows what he's going to do to you? Or a bear. Now on Twitter, they all say they pick the bear. Is this logical? Why are they doing this? This is a trend that I'm actually, frankly, very late to. A couple of people on my Discord said I should make a video about it, so might as well. Anyways, let's tackle this question. But first, before we go into the question itself, why is this even being asked? What is the purpose behind it? And according to Twitter, which has the most lovely individuals on the internet, the discussion is about violence against women. Violence that has become so common and dangerous to women that when asked about this question, women choose bear, not because women think bears are not dangerous, but because women know statistically, through their own experiences, just how dangerous misogynistic men are. Wow, that's very deep. Okay, while we're diving in, let's do this from multiple angles. We're first just gonna uncover this how logically speaking, it is absurd, but we gotta dig deeper. I know that's exactly what you guys love on this channel. What does this say about the men and women who are involved in these types of conversations? And, of course, the solution to it. Now, if we just use something called common sense that many of these people who are trying to nerd out and convince you by doing mental gymnastics that bears are actually safer than crossing a man in the forest or while you're hiking or camping. The problem is, how many times are you going to run into a bear? You're going to have that bear encounter. How close you're going to get to the bear compared to guys. It happens all the time that when you're hiking, when you're just going on a trail, when you're going camping, heck, even a bit farther away from the city, which is what they make this out to be. It's the whole aspect to this is, what if you encountered a man in the wild where there was nobody there to actually protect you? No police, law enforcement. What would happen? Well, it turns out it's pretty common. It happens quite frequently. You wouldn't really think anything of it. Now, if you see anybody late at night, for example, yeah, you're going to be pretty defensive. That's just logical, man or woman. You're going to think something is up. But if you're trying to do mental gymnastics, you're trying to justify picking a bear because that's what the data says, then you're frankly kind of deceiving yourself and you don't know anything about these things. I hope I don't have to persuade my audience any further, but just in case there are people like that out there, this thing, just so you know, is not new whatsoever. These types of questions have existed for quite a while, and better ones previously in the past, because they weren't done by feminists. They were done by, well, people we call racists. What they would ask is, would you rather go into an alleyway with a black man or a white man? And their logic would be statistical data and say that you don't want to with a black man. Now that's kind of what's going on here, except a worse version that is not well thought out and people who really don't know their math. It's not about how many bears are there and how many men are there and how many of these attacks happen from bears and men. And it turns out that men are actually more dangerous while you go on hiking. No, that's nonsense. How many times do you just run into bears? Period. You're going to run into people like 100 times more, 1,000 times more. A lot of people just go their whole lives without ever laying their eyes on a bear. And the bears aren't going to be on that trail. They're not always going to be walking where you're walking. They walk wherever they want. It's kind of like the last time I saw deer on a trail near my house. They were not on the path. There are multiple factors to these things, and you cannot use mental gymnastics to try and justify the idea that you would rather see a bear instead of a man. Also, these people's actions wouldn't align with the things they're saying. These people, if they actually saw a man on a trail while they're hiking, while they're in the woods away from the city, they would not shit themselves and be frozen still if they saw a person. Now, it would get kind of weird if the person was walking towards them. I mean, if that happened to anybody, they would be worried. I've had women also, for example, talk about stabbing me in the woods. It's not just about men. It's about, well, that's kind of odd behavior. That's outside of the norm. But I wouldn't think too much of it either way, even if I saw a man. Even though men, if you want to play the whole statistics game, I'm at much greater risk when I see a man in the woods of being a victim of a violent assault than a woman is. If you want to play play those stupid statistical games. Play these, I got these random numbers that I don't actually understand or think about all day, except for when I'm going to use them to win an argument. If you want to play that stupid game. Or we could just say, nobody would want to see a bear. But if you want to shut a person up about this whole man versus bear thing, just ask them a question. Which one would you rather? A black man or a bear? All of a sudden, they're going to get very politically correct. Oh, there's nothing wrong with black men. I would rather just see a black man instead of a bear. And if you want to play the whole statistics game, it gets a whole lot more fun too. Though I would never play such a stupid game. Of course, yeah, I'd rather pick a black man instead of a bear. Just in case anybody wants to clip that on me. If anyone wants to try and get me demonetized because I said that. Golly, people are so stupid today. But that aside, how do you actually persuade people? We have these political arguments all the time. When these men and women who hate each other are arguing back and forth, do you think any of them are going to convince each other? No. The way you actually convince people of these opinions, of changing their perspective on these things, you don't do it through reason and logic, because reason and logic didn't get them into their positions to begin with. They use reason and logic, these numbers, these facts, the data, to support their arguments for why they believe what they believe. But it was never the cause for why they do believe those things. There's also a couple of other things. If you browse through these Twitter threads, they talk about men, how we want to change the opinions of men, the perspective of men, all the rest. If you actually want to do those things like you claim, and you're not just repeating these things for Twitter clout, to get some likes from a woman, to speak to your own group, you're actually trying to convince other people. One of the first things you should do is not speak in a foreign language. What do I mean by that? Men, women, the right, the left, communist, Nazis, they all have their own language they speak. And if you're a foreigner and you're going in with your accent, the way you speak, they're automatically not going to trust you. You are not one of us. You are one of them. And that is exactly what is happening when you use words that primarily people on the left who are more feminist use, and they're talking to men. If you say, for example, exploitation, oppression, the patriarchy, different things like that, maybe that's how you ladies talk. That's your language. Okay, use that with the ladies. But guys, if you actually want to convince guys, you're not going to be saying those things around us. Guys say things like degeneracy, based, but we can't say that in these woman groups. Women don't talk that way, especially the feminist type women. When I'm talking to a person I identify to be more left-wing, to be more feminist in nature, but I want to change their outlook on society, their perspective on things, I'm not going to say, you need to cut out the degeneracy and become more traditional, and that will make you happy. No, they're trained to hate those words, the way those things work. Before you do anything, you have to change the way you talk. Speak their language. Do as the Romans do. Instantly, I've lost them by simply saying a couple of words. It could be that I'm saying perfectly true things, but when I use that language, nobody on that side is going to like me. I'm instantly repulsing them. Same with all these overused buzzwords. And the way you know these things is they're commonly overused, especially online. They're used in instances they should not be used. And it makes the word lose all meaning, and it causes people to instantly roll their eyes the moment they hear it. You've lost them. Another part is you have to extend an olive branch. Let's say we're dealing with someone you truly believe has the capacity to change their opinions, their outlook on life. They're not ideological zombies. They're people who are actually open to things. One of the things you want to do is empathize with them, extend an olive branch. You want to say, I actually understand your position. I understand what you're saying. I understand your personal experiences in life. And I'm not trying to say that they are untrue. They are stupid. You're an idiot for seeing the things you're seeing. You have to accept, integrate the things they have lived, their personal lives and experiences. For the sake of an example, I'm just going to say Australians. I don't like Australians. Those people really get on my nerves, especially the way they talk, their general demeanor. How would you convince me to stop hating Australians? Well, the way you would do it is you ask, well, why is it that you have a problem with Australians? I want to understand your side. You hear them out. And then I could give my spiel. I say, every time I run into an Australian, all the times I've had relationships with these people, they have been negative. Maybe they physically hit me. They've hurt me. I've had horrible experiences with them. I don't want to have anything to do with Australians. What you would say is, I understand your personal experiences. That is not fun. Nobody should go through those things. I'm so sorry for your loss, what has happened. Life is just not fair that way. Oh man, I'm really sorry that's happened to you. I would get you. I would be the same way if I was in your position. But all of my personal experiences, I've personally never had those experiences with Australians. And there are plenty of people who have perfectly happy, healthy relationships with Australians. We as a society should get along with Australians. And that's how it is for women. You have to say, I understand the pain, the things you've gone through. You've been hurt. The reason why you believe these things is because of your personal experiences being negative with men. But we want what is best for you, what will make you truly happy. And there are so many women who are in perfectly happy, healthy, good relationships with men. It would be great if you could have that in your life, which is why we should work on and mend and heal that relationship with men. And then afterward, you generally try and be more of a positive experience on their life. Even if they end up walking away, they still say, oh, I hate men or I hate women, whatever the spiel is. Try and just be a positive experience in their life, regardless of how long or short it is, if you want to try and make an impact on their perception of men and women and all the rest. First, empathize. Then try and use a bit of facts and logic and reasoning. That will be much more powerful than any of this debate nonsense for anybody. And this does not only apply to women who hate men. This applies to just everybody in general when it comes to things that they don't like, when it comes to people they dislike. That is what you need to do. That's how we resolve this issue. And you really have to show it with your actions. For example, I could say, yeah, I get you, but you're wrong, and this is why we need to do this thing. Whenever you're in an argument with a person and they say verbatim what I just said, you don't believe that they understand you whatsoever or are listening to you. And we are people who want to be heard. Do not approach this from a logical lens. You have to approach this from more of an emotional lens and really impact them that way. That is how you can heal the divide between men and women, if it is possible at all to actually influence them as people. Now, for some people, this will not work at all. They're just fueled on hatred. It doesn't matter what you say, but for the people it can work on, this is what you should do. And that's my thoughts on the whole man versus bear thing. It was designed to fail to begin with. It was horribly constructed, the whole argument of would you rather a man or a bear? And even if it was perfectly constructed, it wouldn't make a difference online. Men and women would still have a problem with each other, at least online. I say you just need to have positive experiences. If you're a guy who hates women, who actually wants horrible things to happen to them, you probably had a bad experience with women. If you're a woman who hates men and you want bad things to happen to them, you've probably had a very bad experience with men in your past. These are not logical things, and you cannot solve them through logic. And that's all. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you're on top of the trends, you know what's going on. You're just connected to social media accounts that really are on top of the trends when they happen. Feel free to join my Discord and just let me know when they happen, so maybe I could make a quick video just like this. Or feel free to let me know in the comments. I am not on top of the trends. I don't pay attention to all these things that are happening. So if you're an individual who does, and you would like me to cover them, please just join my Discord server. Feel free to give me pings, let me know that these things are happening. I would love that. That would be so helpful. Anyways, thank you so much. I hope you have a good one.